Another exciting round of WOR coming up in just a few short moments. It is that season finale that you've all been waiting for. Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. Welcome aboard to WOR. This is the Legacy Division, and it is myself, Jota, alongside your co-commentator, James, for this incredible event ahead of us. We are in for a spicy affair. Welcome to that season finale in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, welcome along, everyone. It is going to be absolutely fantastic. The drivers are right on track at the minute as well. It's going to be one very interesting night in terms of the championship and in terms of how we are going to approach things in terms of this. It has all the hallmarks, potentially, for a very, very good night. And like the Beach Boys, I've got good vibrations.
Yes, it's going to be a very, very intense event ahead of us. We have got a bunch of drivers, 18 of them, all very excited to get ahead of the game here, of course, though, on the intermediate tyre, going around just getting an understanding of what the track is out there at the moment. We are in for a peculiar night, of course, because this is the season finale, and it is a race to the title.
It is a race to the title, indeed, and as the standings actually came out, 21 points separate both PSR and Talent Factory coming into tonight. Of course, that reverse effect from last time out in the last round, of course. It was fantastic to witness, fantastic to watch. Hopefully we get the close-net racing out on track. Hopefully it's decided out on track as well, rather than in the steward room. I'm going to get the standings up right now. Thank you very much. As Talent Factory leading the way on 297 points. I believe that's the wrong one. That's 370 points, actually, for PSR. Talent Factory in second on 349 points, and that is a 21-point gap. However, I can report already there's been a crash out on circuit. Zozo was crashed in the wall coming out the left-hand turn number 5, which is not great whatsoever for the Shizou team's perspective. That was a crash out on track on a set of intermediate compounder tyres. PSR and Talent Factory, 21 points separating. Should be very interesting. Zozo already in the wars.
I'm hoping that's figured that one out. There we go. I think we're there. Juventus racing on in 7th place with Nexus in 6th. Then Visceral. Then there is Team Shizou. 133 points at the moment. The last thing Shizou needed was for a driver to be knocked out of qualifying. He was on the intermediate tyre as well, so rather embarrassing stuff there as NRX Levi coming across the line to take the fastest so far.
Yeah, very interesting that there from Levi, 33.3. Yossi's also on to run 105.2 in that middle sector. I think he's the next one to actually come across the line in the Haas. Juventus Racing have actually lost Xavi recently as well. So Yossi looking to try and feed in some of the great racing that Juventus have had, I think, throughout the season. Certainly other team events as well, because this will now go into the top 132.2, so second quicker. Much better from Kazizel. Levi there in second, Yossi there in third. Very, very interesting stuff early on. Furious, hopefully not going to be furious with this first sector split. His first sector split is 34.2 in that first sector, so he is now on a lap along with Chris and JT, who I believe is a new driver, actually, for Team Valor tonight, and the first time he's actually appeared all season.
Oh, God. I'm not sure what's going on, but it seems like we've got some technical hitches happening left, right and centre at the moment, so we will try and rectify those in the meantime. But as it currently stands at the moment, you know, we've got people just out on laps at the moment on that intermediate tyre, just wanted to get a lap in. But Scyther is currently on an out lap here. Now, of course, this is the PSR team. Really, really critical stuff for PSR, of course. They wanted to take a title tonight, and Scyther and Sav have arguably been their best drivers all season.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so. And I think with PSR, they need to try and obviously get one or maybe even two of these guys within the top 4, at least in the top 5 here in Saudi Arabia. Skyther, as you say, is on a set of soft compound tyres, so he's going to set the first inside lap. We should be expecting 27s around here. Let's see what Skyther can do. The PSR man hopefully out on track hopefully going to be some really good action out on track, and hopefully we will fix all of these technical issues that's happening. I'm not sure if you can hear me at this stage, but hopefully everything will be hunky-dory. Skyler is just on the map down the hill in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, no, I think we are just about there now. I'm just keeping an eye out on the gains at the moment because for some reason I'm incredibly loud and I don't exactly know why. But there we go. We'll keep an eye on that one anyway, as we'll just keep an eye out on Scythe, who is currently on the lap at the moment, and he's just getting a little bit of a feeler for the circuit at the moment. Of course, Q1 here, and he's invalidated immediately, so not immediately getting in there as well, wearing Lando Norris's helmet, curiously, as well, for some reason. Either way, he is now just going to be having another go on that one while everyone else is currently in the pit lane. The only 3 drivers set a lap, all on the intermediate tyre, though Yossi and Kazizel, both respective for Juventus and Shazoo, currently in the pits now, just moving over to that soft tyre. Take a quick look again, if you don't mind, actually, at those standings. So there it is, 370 points, place 349. Outplayed Racing on 186. That's pretty much solidified P3, though there is a slight possibility, if my maths works out right anyway, that they could be overtaken. But Team Shazoo really on the back foot already, with Zorzo in and out of qualifying after crashing on that intermediate tyre. And then towards the back, of course, Juventus Racing and Nexus. Look how close it is between the pair of them. 4 points separating the two of them for that spot in 6th place. Pretty critical as well, of course, because you'd argue that anyone above 100 points, you know, was looking to potentially go for the title, maybe anything from sort of 6th downwards, potentially arguing for a best of the rest. But yes, it's all going to be a very, very tight contest between the pair of them.
It really is. It really is. And PSR and Talent Factory were leading at various stages this season, and they have not let this championship go. Talent Factory are very strong around this track as well. I know that from experience. I've seen the guys in PSGL compete, Rudy and Max especially. Rudy, of course, congratulating him on getting through into the Pro Exhibition, which is fantastic, and obviously a driver that I've followed throughout my commentary career as well. It's fantastic to watch. Skyler, however, is starting up on a second run. He is the first man out there on that set of soft compound tyre. He has not managed to invalidate coming to the left-hander of turn 9 through turn 10 and 11. Now down the straight in towards turn 13. 31.9 in the first sector, exactly where you want to be in terms of lap time around here. Looking through the comment section as well, hope you all doing well there in the chat. Jack Harrington is asking what is the gap between TF and PSR. We've covered it, but if you missed it, it's 21 points. And Akon Judd there saying, let's go Crispy, man. And Crispy is on fire, potentially with Skyver in this middle sector, maybe going sub-59s in the middle sector.
Potentially. He is currently breezing his way around the circuit as he comes across the line now, and he goes to 1 minute and 3. So he is a little bit over that sort of 60-second mark through there, and actually not setting the fastest second sector. Weirdly enough, we have got other people out on laps at the moment, but apparently someone set a faster second sector, but nonetheless, he's approaching now into that final corner, of course, and this is where we saw that infamous incident in between with Max Verstappen on his own in 2021, but nonetheless, these drivers now coming here as Scythe curiously decides to avoid that line, comes across the line, 1 minute 27.6.
Yeah, not a bad lap time at all. I'm not sure if he actually clipped the wall, maybe, on the inside of turn 27. Very, very close to the wall. I'm not sure if he lost the control of the car slightly there. If he did, he's probably lost about a 2/10 of a second, so that can easily be a quicker lap than him. Sav is on a lap time as well, coming through the middle sector. I believe he's one of the first actually on a lap on the full runs, now on that set of soft compound tyre. Wiener there saying in the chat, OP for the win. Very, very much saying with the Juventus Racing team, maybe going across to OP there. Might have to watch that one out as the night progresses, but Sav is up on Sky this time in that middle sector, looking very quick indeed. Everyone is now on a full lap, apart from Zozo, of course, is already at the session. And there is somebody just getting out of the way to the left-hand side. I think that was a Williams getting out of the way to the left-hand side. That might have been potentially Jam on an out lap, just getting out of the way. Sav now comes through into the final couple of corners. Should be going quicker than Skyler, I think, with this lap. Should be around a 27.4, I think, for Sav. On the run to the line, call me Mr. James, 27.4 it is.
27.4 it is indeed. Emine coming across the line, the former Novus driver actually racing in VSR is coming across the line with a 28.4 of his own, but plenty of laps being invalidated out there at the moment as well. Just on one aboard with Vala's Ogween. He's now just coming through down onto the main straight. We're expecting sort of laps to slowly begin to improve here, because track evolution does tend to be a common factor around here as the drivers get rid of the sand on the circuit as it goes into turn 27. Of course, in the infamous Red Bull, and of course, again, still Max Verstappen crash out in 2021, but he will come across the line to set his initial lap time, and Valler's initial lap time across the board and goes second fastest, 27.675, goes faster than Scyther on that lap.
Yeah, Team Valor, I think, are going to be a team certainly to watch out for. Somebody that's just made a huge mistake coming through the final corners. TF Max coming through turn 27, lost control of the car, oversteered the car through. Disappointing. 27.9, potentially going to be in trouble as this session progresses. That was not a good lap at all from the Talon Factory perspective. Rudy now on the run to the line as Kazizel goes quickest. Did say watch out from here. Rudy there going fourth, much better from him. Max though on the back foot, the PSGL Tier 1 champion, of course, as Rudy has absolutely butchered turn number 1 there as I'm trying to pull with him. Kazizel though out on top, 7 second, Yossi in third. Kazizel is very strong around this track. I believe he took the race win here in PSGL a couple of seasons back as well. Kazizel certainly one to watch out for, at least for pole position. On
board then with M Racer, that's VSR's second driver to set a lap time. Of course, first one being Amine is a second down on the fastest lap. Looks like he's actually got off the throttle a little bit, and he is. He's not on a particularly quick lap at the moment. Is that Mercedes? He's looking like he's going to be setting something around 17 seconds slower. Levi looking to try and improve his 4 seconds up, though. Having a little bit of a tax slap a moment earlier on his previous attempt, which means he's 6 seconds down. Whilst we're talking about all of this, by the way, top 7 separated by less than 0.3 of a second. Mighty close stuff from the drivers in the season finale of WRLD Season 2. A slight late breaker goes for the later apex, though, does Levi. Looking to improve, of course, with the NRX team, looking to try and solidify that P6 in the championship. He comes into the pits and completely mugs me off.
That was a very late dive into the pit lane, to be fair. It knocked me off as well, to be honest. Lever there, though, into the pit lane. Obviously not going to set a lap time in. He is now back in the pits. He's going to be setting up on another run very shortly indeed. I think that's everyone done, actually, on their second runs. Jam potentially pushing on another run. The SLR man there in 14th. Don't think he's on a lap, however, coming through this middle sector. And yeah, he's miles off in this middle sector split. Max there down in 9th. Disappointing lap from his perspective at this stage. Chris, Skyver currently out qualifying Max. But we know how we see Talon Factory this season. Q1, normally they're not strong. Q2 and Q3 is when they come alive, especially at the late stages of Q3. Rudy and Max have got it all to fight for. Early stages suggest PSR have got the advantage, and I think good for them. But Talon Factory do not discount them out. And even though I think they might get shocked by Shazoo, of course, Zolzo's already had a qualifying. We are going to have 2 more out along with Zolzo at the end of Q1.
Yep, so as it stands at the moment, we definitely know Zolzo is out of qualifying, but we've got another 2 to get out of here. One of the drivers hasn't set a lap time. One driver has set a non-provisional lap time. So we've still got plenty to play for here. And at the moment, SLR are going to be looking over their shoulders here because they might have both drivers knocked out of Q1 as it stands. So Simbarox 1 and Jam will be looking at that one. And of course, Amine for Team VSR will be looking to try and really get his groove going here, because though he might be relatively okay for Q1, Q2 is looking particularly tricky.
Yeah, Q2 definitely looking tricky, I think, for both VSR drivers. Of course, you mentioned M Racer there, hasn't had a lap time just yet. Levi there in 16th. Now he has participated in the F1 Esports Challenger Series this season, and he's done very well, I've got to say there as well. So he might be one to watch out for. 33.3 is above the 107% rule, I think, in Formula 1, so he wouldn't get through anyways at this stage. He has got a very good lap, but it's all going to be down to 1 lap, potentially, for Levi to try and get in. If he gets a second run, and he invalidates us first, then he'll be very, very lucky. But Levi there in 16th, under trouble. And to be honest, the SLR boys are not even out of trouble either. The other Talon Factory man of JT's not entirely out of trouble either. The rest, I think, are fine. So it's going to come down to one of potentially 6 drivers that is going to go out. At least 2 will go out, of course, in Q1. But we will see who they are in around about 20 seconds' time, as Amina's just about to start his lap coming through the final corner.
Yep, and he's just coming out of turn 27 as he will now head on his lap. So, important lap here, this one actually for Amine as well. The former Novus driver now racing with VSR, of course. After Novus closed its doors, then along came the VSR team needing a bucket load of drivers, so they absorbed quite a bucket load of Novus drivers actually into their team. Here comes Amine then going into turn 2, avoiding the SLR driver on an outlap, and actually looking like a bit more of an aggressive run there. Very well taken, going through into turn 5, 6 and then 7. It's going to be pretty tight as he heads through the next set of corners here. We've seen a lot of people mess up at this particular corner. Not so much for Amine though. He keeps it nice and calm, nice and cool, nice and easy. Comes across the line 2/10 faster in the first sector already.
Yeah, 2/10 quicker. Very, very quick first sector, actually, from Amin, and he's looking absolutely on it, I've got to say, out of that first sector. Very, very close to the walls. Again, close to the wall, hugging the curb, coming through 14 and 15, now in towards 16 and 17, and now on to the back straight, parting with the Red Sea on the right-hand side. Very close to the wall again on the exit of turn 17, and Amin is looking very, very good, I've got to say, coming through this middle sector. Should be around a 1 minute point 2, 1 minute point 3 in this middle sector. He's just slightly off. He's 3.5 tenths up. Is it going to be enough, though, to try and grab him out of Q1? Remains to be seen. He's looking very, very consistent. Purple middle sector as well, according to him. That's only on his lap, apart from Matt Kazizel with that 27.4 course out on top. Amino into the final corner, looking very, very good indeed. I'd be very, very surprised if this is enough, though. I have a feeling it is, but we'll have to wait and see.
Here he comes then as he comes across the line, hugging that white corner, and comes across the line and goes P8 with a 27.8, looking fairly sharp indeed. VSR driver a little bit more comfortable now, looking towards into Q2 as he is now safely through. M-Racer, though, on the other hand, definitely in a bit of danger. He's currently heading in that out of the first sector, rather, just going into the second at the moment. Still yet to set a provisional lap time. His first sector not looking particularly sharp. Here comes Levi, though. He's looking to improve. Will he be able to take SLR and put them under a lot of pressure? They have. He's gone P4 with a 27.559. It's the third driver now in the 27.5s, and the eighth driver within around within 3/10. M-Racer just in that second sector. We'll see what his first sector lap time in comparison to the second was, a 1 minute point 6, a little bit off of the pace of the likes of, I think, Levi and Rudy, so we're expecting somewhere within the sort of P7-8 category. They'll be happy with that one, will VSR, but one of their drivers will be out of the top 10 coming out of Q1, so they'll be monitoring that one going through into Q2 as it stands then. As M-Racer, again, a little bit of a wiggle, though, not looking comfortable at the moment is that Mercedes. As he comes across the line now, does the Silver Arrow, looking to try and get up there, and only goes 12th fastest, so actually not beating his teammate with that 27.8 in a poor final sector. That wiggle perhaps taken off, and more damage than potentially may have had, as we've just had a little bit of an awe from yourself, James.
Just on board with Jam coming out of the middle sector. He was a 10.5 up, hit the wall coming in towards turn 22, missed the angle completely, unsettled the car completely. He is going to be out, I think, of Q1 here. He might improve in terms of his lap. He is going to be definitely out of Q1 unless he goes quicker than JT. He goes to the line, doesn't, so he's out of Q1. JT is a 10th up out of the middle sector as well. Simbarox is done, so he is out as well. So both SLR drivers are confirmed to be out. JT doesn't need to improve. He's just been told that right now because he's coming into the final corner. He's just been told that Jam and Simbarox are out. Simbarox invalidated, so that is perfect. JT and Team Valor just about scraping through their driver by a comfortable, in the end, 10.5 of a second.
Yeah, in the end, then managed to just sneak through by a bit over a 10.5 on the GTO 40 versus Jam. But SLR have got both of their drivers knocked out of qualifying one, with Shazoo Zorzo, of course, crashing out on his outlap on a set of intermediate tyres, meaning that Shazoo will be at the back with him. But they've definitely got at least one driver through in this Shazoo sandwich, as Kazizel has gone fastest of anyone with that 27.415. Sav with a 27.497 of his own, the only two drivers to get into the 27.4s, with Jose, Levi, Rudy, Louis, Alguin and Scyther, 27.5s and 6s, 27.7, starting with Furious in 9th, and I think that's going to make for a very interesting Q2 because I think any 100th of a second could count here, maybe even every 1,000th of a second, as we are just waiting on the two NRX drivers to retire.
Yeah, and I'm just going to bring up the oblivious that we are actually missing. Max only made it through to Q2 in 13th position. That lap was not good enough, as I mentioned, his first run, not good enough whatsoever. He has got something to find in Q2. If he proves to me and to everyone here that he is one of the best and he's a PSGL champion for a reason, he'll come back and he'll fight and he'll go top 3 in Q2. That's what I think I'm expecting of him. That's what I'm sure people as well are expecting of him. But in 13th position, Talent Factory would be looking at that and thinking, my word, Max, you've got to try and improve. That was slightly underwhelming, I think, from the Talent Factory perspective, at least for one of their drivers.
Yeah, a little bit risky, actually, this one as well for the drivers at the Talent Factory, especially when they're in the one chasing for the title. Either way, Kazizel is leading from the top. 27.415 puts him on the pole position if it was, of course, the full short qualifying, but in the end he gets P1 and he'll be wanting to carry that with him through to Q2 and 3. Sav from Yossi, from Levi Rudy, Louis Ogwin, Scyther Furious, and Amine rounding out the top 10 from Chris, M Racer, and TF Max. There he is in 13th, with Ryan in 14th. JTO40 rounding out the top 15 drivers, both SLR drivers knocked out, 16th and 17th, and then of course Zorzo crashing out for Shazoo to complete that sandwich of 1st to 18th. We're back in just a few short moments for this Q2. Well, then let's get going for another round of racing here. Let's take another look actually at the standings as they currently are at the moment. Paradox Sim Racing then on 370 in what has been a little bit of a topsy-turvy Q1 there. Some drivers leading towards the front, some leading towards the rear. Scyther really not able to get his qualifying one going in that session. Talent Factory, where was Max in that entire session? Down in 13th and at risk of being knocked out of Q1. Last thing Talent Factory need when they need to chase down those 21 points. And remember, of course, they've got to think about countback as well if this gets even tighter as this entire season has been.
Oh, and as I said in Q1, I thought Max's performance was really underwhelming, I think, from a Talent Factory perspective. Skyther, not so much. Skyther was right up there, I think, for PSR. I don't think he'll be worried too much. I mean, they've got the chief strategist, probably the GOAT of chief strategy as well in PSR, in Crispy, right there doing all the maths, doing all the figures. So they are, I'm sure, going to get both their drivers through into Q3. I'll be very, very surprised if they don't. But we are now going into Q2, and this is the first insight. This is the first real test for the drivers. We get to see how long and how by much drivers go out in Q2, which is going to be very interesting. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe 1 or 2 shots in Q2.
Yeah, I mean, that's all going to be really a testament to the close ability of the drivers, to be honest with you. It's been absolutely astonishing to watch, to say the least, as we're just keeping an eye out on Chris as he's now heading around the next couple of corners. He's now going to be the leading driver, actually, of all drivers that have got out. He got out first and he wants to get on with it, as is to be expected of Juventus Racing this season. They've been all about getting out there, getting on with it, and you know what? Paid dividends a few times this season.
Yeah, definitely so. I think Juventus have really came alive, especially second half of the season. They really came alive, even though some of the performances on paper don't look as good as what they might. I think Juventus have done a stunning job, I think, this season. They are probably one of the most underdog teams, I think, on the PS platform as well, which I think is going to back that up, hopefully with Chris, maybe even with their other driver and Yossi getting through into Q3. Yossi has been talked about as being one of the fresh underdogs on the scene. We'll have to wait and see as Chris is down in towards turn number 1 through the left-hander and then through the right-hander at turn number 2, in now through underneath the grandstand at turn number 3, and then in towards the snaky S section here at 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, which comes very, very quick at you, very, very close to the wall. In fact, Chris there just to try and fight the car. Now comes through 7, through the right-hand return and brake, catches the curb on the right-hand side, just about gets away with that. Just about gets away with that, but the skin of his teeth, I think.
Yeah.
But Chris in the first sector, 32.3, and that mistake was costly.
Yeah, I'm not being funny. If any person or any team is in comparison to looking at these particular laps, I think there may just be a steward report being sent if Chris gets an advantage from that, because to me he was well off of track limits on that one, but nonetheless he keeps moving, and here comes JTO40 to go on board, and that is a complete invalidation through that particular set of corners on here, as Max again struggling, getting a bucket load of understeer going through into turn 4, and that has now seen him invalidate his lap once again. I have a feeling here that Max, on the day that TF really needed their drivers to be at their best, suddenly on the final race of this season, that's, spirit, that competitiveness is just not there. On the final day of the season, that's just the last thing TF really needed at this point. Chris comes across the line, then he'll be setting the initial lap time in this Q2 session, comes across the line 1 minute 28.3.
Yep, and that is on a used set of compound tyres as well. Definitely. Ryan there going second, Levi going third as well. Definitely on the used set of tyres, these guys. Yossi, however, might not be. 27.8 goes quickest out of everyone. Chris there in third. Sav now goes second as well. And now Skyler comes in with a banging lap time. 27.5. That might be on a set of used tyres. I'd be very surprised if it isn't. I think that's on a fresh set of softs. Add on track. Max, as you mentioned, is invalid. However, they have been smart. Rudy has not came out the pit lane just yet. Rudy is there, still in the pit lane. GT also invalidating his lap. He's back in because this is also invalidating his lap. So that's going to be interesting from his perspective. One of the favours to get through. As you've seen something, was that a crash in the first sector?
No, because Zizzle, unfortunately, getting a bucket load of understeer, and it looks like he's just completely abandoned any attempt on that lap there. So that will be what was the pole sitter in Q1, now going to be without a lap time at all, and now he is the driver under pressure. The last thing that Shazoo needed on this one, but right at the back, that is a very, very, very unfamiliar sight for anybody that's been tuning in to World Online Racing's Legacy Division this season. Both Talent Factory drivers are at the back of this qualifying session so far. Max not able to get his qualifying session going at all. Rudy hasn't even left the pits yet, as Kazizel looking to try and get his session going. He might be coming into the pits, I think, perhaps for that fresh set of soft tyres and wants to give it a go. But as it stands, the knockout time 28.5, and we've got 5 drivers in that 28.5.
Yeah, it'll be somewhere around, I think, the 27.8, 27.7 knockoff time, I think, in Q2. There is normally an 0.8 per second gap in terms of old tyres to new tyres around here, especially on a set of softs. So I will not be surprised if drivers do improve into the 127s and we end up getting thousandths of a second separating the guys out of Q2, sorry, and then out of Q3 as well. JT has just gone back out on an outlap as well. He's there in 13th position. He'll be looking to try and get Team Valor into play as well. Ogween there down in 11th. I wouldn't be surprised if he improves massively as well. But as you mentioned, Rudy and Max, 14th and 15th. If I was in the PSR camp right now, I'd be taking a photo right now and maybe go to gloating that potentially on social media a little bit later on and saying, well, you guys are down in 14th and 15th, we're in the high heights of 1st and 3rd in Q2. And I think from a PSR standpoint, they've got to try and get every ounce over on Talent Factory, even though Talent Factory, I'm going to say, are a very, very good team and they should be respected at all costs.
I mean, Talent Factory have only really... I mean, out of all of the events that I can remember off the top of my head, they have led every single, they've led the table. They've been at the top of the table throughout this entire season, except for 3 races, this being the 3rd. And they're at real risk of potentially losing out on the title. And I think, they'll be happy with the performance of the drivers, but the result is not what they're looking for, I think, if this keeps going. And they can tell that there's perhaps a little bit of tension happening at the moment at that Ferrari garage. Here comes JTO 40 for TV8. He's about to start his lap now in that Red Bull for Team Valor. And it's a bit of a story of they've got the season going. Now they're going to look forward to the new game cycle for Team Valor. We are got a little bit of time to discuss the teams, I think. Valor... It's a matter of where we go from here now, isn't it, for them? They've set the precedent, they've set the foundations, they've got things rolling. There's a lot of investment going into the team. It's going to be interesting to see what they've got coming up over into the next game cycle.
Yeah, I can only think they can improve. I mean, how they've shown themselves, I think, in a big standard, is that JT's through the first sector 32.2. In a big standard team event like this, with a huge prize pool and huge teams in as well, they have not looked out of place whatsoever, and I think that is brilliant from their perspective. Of course, different handling model, different graphics as well, going to be on the new game, so that is going to really test the drivers. However, I know for a fine fact they're going to get up to speed. Team Valor, I think, have been one of the surprises of the season, and should be really recognised, I think, as one of the top teams on cross-play platforms, as JT's in the middle sector. 1 minute point 7 in the middle sector suggests to me he's still on that set of used compounded tyres, which at the minute is not good enough, especially if you want to try and get 2 runs a little bit later on.
Here comes JTO 40 then, looking to try and get himself into touching distance, potentially into the, I think, outplayed racing sort of speed here. If he can get 28.3, that you'd be happy with that one. If they're fresh softs, he needs to be pushing towards the top. Here he comes across the line then, sets his precedent, 28.2, and goes faster than outplayed racing, goes faster than VSR's M Racer as well, and goes P4.
Yeah, it goes P4, and I'm looking with a bit of a confused look on my face. Look at the face cams, not on me. But I've got a really confused look on my face because JT, I'm not sure if that was on a set of used compounded tyres or if that was just on a fresh set. If that was on a fresh set, then he is potentially going to be one of the drivers out of Q2. He can improve, but it's going to be a real uphill task. I'm catching on board Sav coming out of the first sector. He's now on a fresh set of used set of soft compound tyres, fresh set, I should say. 31.9 in the first sector, more like it. We've got a yellow flag in the final sector. That's just drivers preparing up for the lap. Interesting, I think that is Max actually preparing up for his lap, rather than Rudy, who I believe is the first one actually on a lap coming through in towards the final corner.
He certainly is, and he's coming across now, and he's actually looking like he's going for the much later apex, but his second sector wasn't particularly sharp, at 1 minute 0.6. As he comes across that particular line, he'll come across the line now with a 27.1. So actually, cracking lap in the end, but that second sector he has got time to find, and that could be a pretty saving grace here for Talent Factory, who have gone 4/10 faster than their sort of rivals throughout this race and throughout this season, to be honest with you. Max looking to try and get somewhere here as he comes into the first sector right now. First sector time at the split is a 32.1.
Yeah, 32.1. It's that first sector, I think, that is catching people out. Sav there going second, because this will there in third. He had a slight mistake coming out the final corner. Chris is there going fourth. Not a bad lap there at all from his perspective. There are other drivers coming to the line. M-Race has just hit the wall on the outside, on the rear right tyre toward the line. He comes. He just lost a little bit of time, but goes sixth, so not a bad lap there at all from him. Louis Valentin is back into the pit lane, so OP potentially are in trouble. One team that we haven't mentioned tonight are in trouble potentially. Levi there is invalid. Amin is invalid. Ogween is 4.5 tenths up with a 31.8 in the first sector. Huge first sector from Ogween. I'm going to follow his middle sector, but that's a huge first sector from Ogween. Maybe looking 59.9s in the middle.
Yeah, keep an eye out on that one, because we've just got Max coming across the line for Talent Factory. He needs to set a lap time that's close to Rudy if he can help it, because this is going to be critical here for Talent Factory. As he comes across the line right now, it's only sixth fastest. It's a 27.5 for Max. That might just get him through no problem at all, potentially, to Q3, but my, it is going to be rather difficult for Talent Factory to take the title if that is the kind of lap times they're performing.
Ogween, beautiful at the final corner. This is a very good lap coming in from the team. Valaman, he goes fifth in the end. That does not deserve to be a fifth position lap, honestly. That is a very, very good lap from Ogween. Up in that first sector, middle sector maybe just cost him, especially through 14, 15, 16, 17, that complex of corners. But Ogween in fifth, not looking too bad. I'd say he's a certainty now for Q3. Max potentially in trouble down there in seventh. I think because drivers invalidated as well, like Louis Valentin, they are the ones in trouble at this stage.
I agree. I think Louis, I think Ryan, I think Levi have got more time available in their cars, and I do think maybe JTO40 as well. JTO40 being in 11th place is a bit unusual for a driver of his caliber, and Jose as well is only in 10th, and Chris going for fourth fastest. There are a lot of drivers here that are a little bit out of place, and I think Max is actually in a bit of trouble here. And you know what? If he's in trouble, so is Scyther, for that matter, as well. We've got 3 and a bit minutes to go. Fresh soft tyres are surely going to be going on cars from, I'm going to say, 6th downwards, because anybody could be knocked out here. I think JTO40, Louis, Ryan and Levi have certainly got more to give. I think Amine is struggling, but potentially has a little bit more pace out there at the moment. And, you know, Rudy and Sav have retired from the session. I think they're comfortable with that, because Zizzle probably would be okay as well. And arguably Chris and Ogween, therefore, will be all right. So I think, let's be honest, everyone from 1st to 5th is probably comfortable. Anyone from 6th downwards is not. There's no, you know, maybe a little bit, maybe I'll be all right. It's just flat out 6th downwards, they're not comfortable.
Yeah, there's 4 drivers I'm looking at in particular. They're both OP drivers. Louis Valentin is just about to start his lap, actually. Ryan, Levi, and that man in 10th position, Yossi. I think they're the ones that are going to sneak through into Q3. M-Racer, Furious, I think potentially are in trouble, especially because they're just about to leave the pit lane and coming out of the pit lane now. Louis Valentin, however, through the left-hander now, turn number 3, and then towards the end of the first sector as Ogween's retired there in the pit lane. Louis Valentin very, very close to the wall, coming out of 5, then through the left-hander 6, 7, then through the right-hander turn number 8, through the right-hander turn number 9, through the left-hander turn number 10. Chris retiring there in the pit lane as well. But Louis Valentin, though, absolutely picture perfect through the first sector, 31.8, 3.5 tenths up. If he keeps it clean for the rest of his lap, he's comfortably in Q3.
Yeah, really good first sector, actually. He was absolutely on the limit of the track at that point and actually nails it. So Louis now going to be in a real good place now as he goes through the second sector. Rear stepping out ever so slightly, but able to control it nicely with his throttle input as he then heads down this main straight, of course. Well, straight, not straight. DRS is available, though, through here as he then goes into that left-hander. Be careful not to ride that curb on the outside too much because you will beach it, and very well taken there from the AlphaTauri. This is looking like to be a cracking lap here from Outplayed Racing, and I have a feeling here that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th are all going to be looking at, behind their shoulders here and going to be thinking, oh, we're going to be at risk here. We've got a Haas driver getting in the way ever so slightly, and I think it might have off-putted Louis a little bit because he missed his apex going through turn 27, but he will go across the line in what I think is going to be a significant lap from Outplayed Racing's Louis as he goes 6th fastest with a 27.4, so he splits the 27.3s from the 27.5s, goes straight back down in the middle, and you know what? He's still in trouble after all of that.
He is still in trouble. He's more comfortable than what I thought he would be, however. I was thinking it's going to be a 27.5 going ahead of Skyler. Skyler, by the way, is in that middle sector, but he's actually backed off his lap, so he's actually just preparing for his final run now. Furious and M-Race have just started on runs as well. Yossi is through the first sector, and a 31.9 in the first sector is respectful. Middle sector, he needs to up his game. Ryan, however, 4 tenths up now, coming out of 16 and 17, so he's one of the furthest on actually on a lap. Levi comes to the line, he jumps up to third. He's comfortably in Q3. Very, very good lap time indeed from Levi. Goes 400s behind Sav, fills him with a lot of confidence. And Amin in the middle sector, 1 minute point 2 in the middle sector. Do not discount the VSR man yet.
Yeah, don't discredit anyone out on the field at the moment. I'm just keeping an eye on Ryan as well. 1 minute point 4 for him. He's actually 6 tenths up now with the inclusion of his first sector split. He's looking really sharp out there for a 27.9, but that third sector is going to be critical here. Now, his teammate missed his apex, not so much here for Ryan, who nails it. Checkered flag is now waving, so it will be the first car will be a Mercedes to set his lap down, and that'll be Amine, who only goes 10th fastest. Here comes Ryan, only 13th fastest for the Outplayed Racing driver, so he is knocked out of qualifying. Jose, in surprise circumstances, no surprises at all now, 3rd fastest with that 27.3. JTO 40 is 2.5 tenths up in the second sector, in the first sector rather, looking fairly sharp out there as he continues his lap. Furious is more furious, he's not improving. M Racer also not improving. Talent Factory's Max is on the line here, and this is all depending on what JTO 40 does in that first sector, looking fairly sharp. Max is looking to improve. He's in front of JTO 40, and he's looking to try and improve, and he's only a 10.5 up actually in that second sector. So as it stands, he is definitely at risk. Cypher looking to improve there as we've got a little bit of a tank slapper situation. Looks like maybe a Red Bull getting in the way, or rather an Aston Martin getting in the way of the Red Bull.
That was Levi, I think. As Skyler now goes quickest for the 27.1. I believe that was Levi getting in the way. I'm not sure if he was in AI, but I think he's actually backed off his lap. JT is going to be absolutely furious, and rightfully so. He should have improved, I think, in terms of that lap. I don't think it would have been good enough to get him through to Q3 anyways. But Levi, very, very strange. No front wing as well on JT, by the way, coming into the pit lane. Levi there in 5th. NOX are going to have to take a hefty penalty, I think, for that, because they're probably thinking, what on earth were you doing, given that JT was on a lap? I think, from an NOX perspective, they didn't realise he was on a lap, and they thought nobody else was improving. JT, however, he's got in the way. Team Valor are definitely going to be furious, as is Furious in 13th.
Yeah, and as a result of that one, I think the chat is already starting to blow up there, as JTO 40 already in the chat. Saying Levi with the crying emoji, and then Levi going, I think he realises he's done a boo-boo. Either way, he's managed to get through, whilst JTO 40 is out of qualifying, and that is going to be pretty hefty. Who else is out of qualifying? Both of the VSR boys are out of qualifying. 11th and 12th, respectively, with Furious, and then Outplayed Racing's Ryan, of course, then JTO 40 at the back. But leading from the front, it's Cypher's turn now for PSR, from Rudy, from Sav. Yossi for 4th place, once again for Juventus Racing, turning out to be a real asset, aren't they? Actually, Juventus is Yossi. 4th place for him from Levi in the Aston Martin, who might be in a bit of trouble. Kazizel is 6th from Chris, Ogwin, Louis, and Max rounding out to the top 10. Max is not comfortable out there and only sneaks through by a little bit over a 10.5. We're going to continue on with our coverage in just a few short moments. Well, we'll continue on with our coverage here of WOR's Legacy Division, this being the season finale in Saudi Arabia. And I tell you what, James, very controversial circumstances with NRX's Levi. Now he might be in a bit of trouble with the stewards, blocking out JTO40. He has to start P15, whilst Levi, on the other hand, is through to Q3.
Yeah, which is very, very costly, I think, for JT. I mean, JT, we were just saying in the little break that we were saying there, JT didn't think he would get through. I didn't think he'd get through. He was saying he'd probably be 11th or 12th position. But then again, even if he was 11th and 12th, if he went, 400th behind Max, he would have been absolutely fuming because he could have got through to Q3 as a result. We now embark on Q3. Levi will have a post-race penalty potentially going his way as well. But this is now very interesting because we've got 10 of the best drivers on the grid going at it in Saudi Arabia, one of the fastest tracks on the F1 calendar. Louis Valentin, Yossi and Skyler. Skyler is the first one out on track at this stage. PSR were 1-2 with Sav and Rudy at the end of Q2. Max, I'm absolutely guaranteed, is maybe putting the wall over between our eyes, down there in 10th, 0.3 of a second. I think we're going to see something special from Max in this final session. Would not be surprised if it's PSR 1-2, Talent Factory 3-4, or vice versa.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a Talent Factory 3-4. I think Max is really not comfortable out there at the moment, and I'm wondering if Talent Factory have fielded the only driver that they have actually got available. But no disrespect to Max, of course, because everyone's got their good tracks, everyone's got their bad tracks. It's the whole point of being able to swap your drivers out in this tournament, and unfortunately, Max doesn't seem to be comfortable out there. He's still in the pit lane, actually, whilst Rudy gets... in fact, Rudy's still in the pit lane as well, I'm saying that. So both of Talent Factory drivers electing not to go out immediately out of the blocks, as Scyther immediately looking like he's on those used tyres, because that rear did not look happy and the front did not look happy either. But he's able to chuck the car through these set of corners here. Look at the grip he's got as well. We're going through these set of corners here, and even with the used soft tyres that's currently on, able to hit his apexes quite nicely as he then heads to the next set of corners. Nails it absolutely fine.
Yeah, and the first sector split backs that up. 32 flat, definitely a used set of tyres, so not bad at all, I think, from Sada's perspective. Yossi is coming through just a couple of corners away from the first sector split. I was right on board with him, if I can even speak. He's through the first sector split, coming through turn 11 and now through turn 12 on through the first sector, and 32.1, so he's actually a 10th down on Skyler through that middle sector, and Skyler is now coming through this middle sector split. Joseph, by the way, saying in the chat, apparently he had some ice cream and had some little own salted caramel thing. Very interesting indeed. Skyler doesn't care about ice cream. He's caring about potentially the fastest lap of the session at this stage. Beautifully done through the middle sector. His now comes in towards turn 27. But I've got to say, I might even try one of them salted caramel things out a little bit later.
Right, I'll keep me informed, actually, because I am quite hungry myself, to be honest with you, as I'm sure Scyther is hungry to get on the board now as he comes across the line now, does that McLaren with that 1 minute 27.5, which is a valiant effort on a used set of soft tyres. Louis comes across the line 27.9 for the outplayed racing driver, as Yossi decides, his sector 2 lap time for 1 minute 0.4, so not too bad. He is looking to try and get in the comparison range of Louis as he comes across the line now. They'll try even better. He goes 8 thousandths of a second faster than Scyther on those used set of soft tyres. And I tell you what, Yossi is suddenly welcoming himself to this pole position battle here. He was in 4th place in Q2. I think he was just behind Sav, because Rudy was in 2nd place from Scyther at the end of Q2. So if Yossi is in this position, later down the line here, he's got that confidence with new set of soft tyres. Anything can happen, and it usually does.
Yeah, anything can and will happen, I think, in qualifying here. Levi 1 minute 0.5 in the middle sector. He's furthest on. Sav is on a very good lap, however. 31.6, 59.8 in the middle sector.
Wow.
Huge lap coming in from the PSR man, very close to the wall, coming out of 22 and 23. Levi is not going to be going quickest this lap, let me tell you that. He will go quickest for now, maybe ahead of Yossi, but Sav is going to absolutely obliterate this lap. He's going to put everyone maybe in the Red Sea. Now coming through the final couple of corners, the PSR man is on an absolute stonker of a lap on the run toward the line, maybe a 26.9, and it is a 26.9. Huge lap from Sav, and that is what they have to beat.
Yeah, 26.9, cracking lap time, and indeed, if that is on a used set of soft tyres, that is a blisteringly quick lap time, though Sav maybe using a new set of softs and may have the extra set. Of course, remember, this is Q3, you get that extra set of soft tyres to your display. And of course, Sav may decide to use up all his soft tyres and just focus on the medium and hards for the race. So that could be a question as regards to strategy. Here comes then Team Valor's Ogween as he comes across the line now with a 27.2 of his own and goes faster than Yozzy than 0.3 of a second. So potentially a new set of softs. While this is all happening, by the way, Max on the lap invalidates immediately on that particular occasion. Rudy, on the other hand, looking far more comfortable in that Ferrari for Talent Factory.
Yeah, he was up in the first sector, up in the middle, and I think he's actually level with Sav in the middle sector in terms of a thousandth of a second. So this is a huge lap coming in from Rudy again. I did say PSR and Talent Factory in terms of this is going to be absolutely watchable within Q3. Rudy now coming through the final couple of corners through turn 27. On the run to the line, should go around Sav. I would be very, very surprised if there's only a thousandth of a second in this. Rudy to the line, goes quicker, 300ths of a second quicker than Sav, in fact. Big final sector. Believe he improved actually in that final sector. And in the end, he is out on top from Sav there in second. Ogween in third. However, Kazizzle might have something to say about that. He's coming into the final couple of corners and looking very, very good, I've got to say, on this fresh set of soft compound tyres. Very close to the wall. Coming out through the left-hander of turn 27 on the run toward the line with Kazizzle. Might go quicker than Rudy, in fact. He doesn't. Goes third, but he's in the mix.
Yeah, cracking lap time from Kazizzle. Remember, it went fastest of anyone in Q1, so don't ever discredit Kazizzle out of that particular set of actions. But as it stands at the moment, Rudy leading the way by 34 thousandths of a second in front of Sav from Kazizzle, Ogween, Chris and Yozzy. Gives us a little bit of time to reflect over in the chat at the moment as people are now gathering their thoughts ahead of what is going to be, I think, a very fantastic race ahead of us. I think Jack just confirming that mint ice cream is the best ice cream in that one. You rightfully point out, and there is the little own salted caramel thing, there is the message from Joseph saying that one. You know what, salted caramel does sound great in that one. I'll grab that one a little bit later on. In that one as well, Crispy's in the chat saying that was a good used set from Sav, so perhaps maybe a 1% set from the McLaren if it is used. If not, they are brand new. If that is a used set of tyres as well, for Rudy as well, they are cracking laps here, and we could be approaching the low to mid to maybe even low 26ers here for pole position, which is going to be an absolute belter. While this is all happening, by the way, Max is still out on circuit. They're not going to be improving his lap on this occasion. His lap of absolutely nothing, 0. He hasn't set anything at the moment, and that is the last thing Talent Factory need. They've got no confidence at the moment in their second driver.
Yeah, definitely not. And Max there down in 10th. I said in Q1 he was underwhelming. Q2 he actually came back and fought back a little bit. Q3 so far he's been invalidating everywhere and he's been underwhelming again. So this is a real knock-on effect, I think, for Talent Factory. Louis Valentine, however, on a lap coming through the final corner. Very high line, actually, coming through the final corner, just to get a bit of extra speed on the apex of the corner. Passing the Jamara Hotel on the right-hand side, now down in toward the left-hander of turn number 1. And before you ask, no, I have not been here before. Louis now in toward the left-hander turn number 1, through the right-hander turn number 2, and then through underneath the grandstand at turn number 3. And that's not looking actually too bad from Louis coming through in toward the first sector. Very tight to the curve there at turn number 4. Again, tight to the wall coming out of turn number 5. Men through 6, 7, and 8. This is where you've really got to have a downforce setup coming through the first sector. Very, very good through the first sector.
Perfect.
This is huge from Louis Valentine in the first sector. This might be quicker than Rudy in the first sector. It is 31.6, right up there with Rudy, and he sets him up now potentially to go quicker than Rudy and Sav.
I mean, it's cracking lap time actually coming in, I think, from Louis as well. We did say that earlier on in this session here, as we've got Defender saying low 26, this isn't PC. Well, Kirby, yeah, cheers, didn't notice. Thanks, man. Of course this is not PC, but at least people are not cheating to get to that 126s on this platform. Hey, here we go then through into that. That was a bit controversial, sorry about that. Going through the left-hander. Oh, wow, nearly 3/4 of a second up in that second sector. Improved on the first sector as well by quite a large chunk here. We're expecting maybe around about a second, I think, here on Louis. And look at who's in second in front is about Sav. So we could be seeing Outplayed Racing's Louis here coming across for a potential high 26, I suspect, here, which of course will put him in the driving seat up front. But plenty of drivers yet to set their lap times on soft tyres that are brand new. And there is the benchmark, 1 minute 26.868. These lap times are going to be coming in. They're going to be faster, and we've got the likes of Sav and Rudy are going to be improving massively, of course, on fresh set of soft tyres. Chris also on an outlap, as well as Jose, as Scyther also on an outlap as well. And what has been a disappointing Q3 appearance so far from Scyther, we haven't talked much about him. He's only 8th fastest. He was on a used set of softs though.
Yeah, 8th fastest, I wouldn't read anything into that, to be honest. I think from Salva's perspective, he's there in a 27.5. He has got he has had a thunderstorm ahead of him a little bit early on in Q1, which is why he was missing at the first couple of minutes of Q1. He's now in 8th, 27.5. Wouldn't read into that too much. He's going to go 26.8, 26.9 sort of region, I think. Jack saying in the chat, 26 flat apparently is definitely cheat. PC is proven to be quicker, however, in terms of the setups compared to console, which is why console is goated, and there's no cheaters on the console, let me tell you that as well. Yeah. Maybe apart from one Leo back in the day, Eduardo Leo, who used to be a TF10 man, the Italian, who I fondly remember said in commentary he was going to be the second coming, and then he ended up getting kicked out because he cheated in the race. Don't cheat, kids. It's simple.
Yeah, don't cheat. I don't fancy that. Here he comes then, Sav. He's going to be the first person to set a lap time out of all of those setting their last lap times in this qualifying session going into turn 1. And again, look at that amount of curb that the PSR boys are taking at the moment. They're throwing everything they can at this one, especially considering, of course, they've got one driver in 3rd, one in 8th, one person on a beautiful set of used soft tyres. Now fresh soft tyres for Sav, as he's now chucking this car through the left-hander, through the right-hander, mounts the curb, excellently taken, close to the wall, left-hander, mount the curb here, absolutely pin precise from Sav, sets his initial lap time, 31.5, only only 800th of a second up though in that first sector from Sav.
Yes, Scyther as well, 31.7 in the first sector, so he's actually 2/10 down already on what Sav is heading through that first sector. Rudy and Max are yet to come through the first sector split. I'll keep an eye on them in just the meantime. Sav will be through the middle sector, I think, before we get to Max and Rudy coming through the first sector. Sav in the middle sector is 59.6, absolutely huge from Sav in that middle sector, really cracking lap. Rudy in the first sector, 31.6, so he's up there. Max 31.8, nowhere near in the first sector. Louis Valentine out on top, but he's under threat.
Yeah, he certainly is under threat. Of course, remember, he's the first driver to set a lap time on a new set of soft tyres, so certainly is under threat. Nearly 5/10 of a second up in the second sector for Scyther. Sav will come across the line to set his initial lap time. Here it comes, 26.755. Scyther, only 4th fastest, 26.969. From them, we've got the Juventus boys coming up. First, it will be Chris, then it will be Jose, as he's looking to try and improve, as we've got a massive crash involving Rudy, who will not improve his lap time of 3rd fastest. So that now allows Max the opportunity to potentially outscore his teammate. As Jose gets fastest of anyone so far with a 26.737. Max is looking to try and get somewhere near his teammate if he can on the 3rd row, maybe the 2nd row. He's on the 3rd row. He matches his teammate, 26.9. Good lap in under pressure as well, with his teammate setting such a quick lap time that they put it in the wall. Kazizel looking to try and improve as he comes across the line now, and I believe that was a 26.8 somewhere in there as well, which means he goes 4th fastest. And in the end, pole position falls to Juventus Racing.
Absolutely unbelievable. I've commentated on this guy. There's also same lap times with Louis and Kazizel, by the way, in 3rd and 4th, just about splitting that pair. For Yossi, out on top, where the hell did that lap come from? My word, that took us by surprise. I didn't even think he was on a run, let alone going quickest out of everyone. Yossi out on top, from Sav there in 2nd, Louis there in 3rd, Kazizel in 4th. Louis setting the lap time sooner, which is why Louis Valentine finished in 3rd, Kazizel there in 4th, Rudy in 5th, Max there in 6th, 3rd row of the grid for the Talent Factory boys, Scarter there in 7th, Levi in 8th, Ogween in 9th, and Chris in 10th. Yossi out on top, Chris in 10th, bookending the field in Q3. That took me by surprise.
Yeah, it completely took me by surprise as well, actually. We're going to be in for, I think, a monumental event ahead of us here, because we have got some serious competition out there on the field. But Juventus Racing flying high at the top with Yossi coming out of nowhere with that pole position. We're going to be in for a belter. We'll be back in just a few short moments. Keep an eye out, because we are on for a very interesting season finale in Saudi Arabia. Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. Welcome aboard to WOR Legacy Division. This is the season finale coming at you live from Saudi Arabia. And it is myself, Jota, alongside James Head for what is going to be a very, very peculiar set of events, actually, because Juventus Racing have managed to snag themselves pole position on the season finale with Jose, a driver of the highest caliber for Juventus Racing. They'll be looking to retain him going into the new game cycle. He's on pole in front of Sav, who of course is racing for PSR, looking to take the title tonight in that very close competition between them and Talent Factory. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, absolutely blisteringly quick from Juventus Racing's Jose, and I think, again, they'll be wise to try and keep Jose on board because Juventus are in that title fight, of course, with Nexus Racing for 6th place. So 4 points separating the pair of them in the standings, meaning that, you know, they're going to want to try and maximise the points they're going to get, and they're going to certainly maximise it if Jose is fighting for the race victory tonight, that's for certain. And, you know, when you add up all the points here, you know, Juventus, if they get a good performance from their co-compatriot in Chris as well, who's 10th fastest, 100 points is not out of the question for Juventus Racing tonight. And I think they'll just be thinking about that standings. They'll be thinking about the battle with Nexus, and they'll be hoping, just hoping, that they can keep on with that great performance and not get into any collisions. That's what it's all about. But at the top, there it is, Paradox Sim Racing. I believe only the 3rd race that they have been on top in the standings, are ahead of Talent Factory by that gap of 21. It's going to be tight here because Sav has had a really good qualifying. Rudy had, you know, a great qualifying up until crashing at the final death of Q3. Meanwhile, Max has left it until the final death of Q3 to get a lap time in. So at least they've got both drivers in front of Cypher, who starts 7th. What is, very quickly, Talent Factory going to have to do to try and take this victory tonight?
One of them is just going to hold Scar the back. They want points. They need points. They hold Scar the back. Simple.
Simple as that indeed. The drivers are all getting themselves ready on the grid. Very quick look at the tyres. There they are. It's hard across the board. This is to be expected. Those drivers are going to be very keen to get going. They're lining up on the grid. And with those drivers lined up, we're counting down the lights. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and it's 5 lights. It's 5 lights, and they are a go. The drivers here, they are on that outside line. Great start from Yossi, actually, managing to put a little bit of an effort to defend here from Sav, who actually may have to defend from the outside attack from Louis, who will have the inside of the next corner, but very well taken from Sav to hold on from P2. Kazizel trying to potentially put a little bit of a challenge on Louis, but it's defending from Rudy at the moment as we've got people swapping positions left, right, and centre. Ogui now up to 10th.
Yeah, Ogwin up to 10th, and Scar is getting caught up in a bit of a mix-up here as well, with Chris side by side coming to the left-hand of turn number 6 of all places. Now tries to go around the outside of turn number 8, but in the end, Scar holds off. Scar has got absolutely no pace on that sort of hards early on. Everyone is clean through in the background. No bit of contact coming through the first sector either. Chris now under pressure as well from Ogwin and M Racer halfway down the field. But in the end, fantastic start by everyone. Exactly what we wanted. Zozo's having a fight with Simbarox coming to the left-hander of turn 13. They're actually side by side coming out of there, but Simbarox is through and he's in 17th, just holding off Zozo. But Yossi is gone. Yossi is a second clear of Sabat in front. Louis there in 3rd, Kazizel in 4th, Rudy there in 5th. Very, very close to what I think from Skada or Chris further down the field as well. Ogwin and M Racer trying to hunt them down as well.
Predicted pit stop strategy for those that started on the medium and the softs there, and makes no difference to this man here. Louis is on the hards, and he's going to be hoping for the one-stop hard to medium here as he keeps as close as he possibly can to Sav in front. Kazizel just behind here, as Rudy is already looking like he wants to put a bit of pressure on Kazizel. It looks like they're going to have to throw everything at the wall here as Rudy... Oh, it's a very late breaker from Kazizel, gets completely caught napping from Rudy, who goes for the, sort of, to be honest with you, a pretty basic move around the outside line, and I think might have spooked the Shazoo driver, who is now down to 5th place and potentially going to be down to 6th as it goes for the late breaker. Does Max and Talent Factory are working the treat there. They played the head game and they absolutely won big. 4th and 5th.
I wonder if Kazizel's got a potential issue. He's dropped down the field there. He let Max through, I think, down in towards turn number 1, and Kazizel potentially has got an issue. Either that or he's got front wing damage, maybe on the right side end plate. That's what I'm looking at the minute, trying to see a good camera angle. It looks like there might be a winglet missing. Right side end plate, potentially. If not, Sav has just made a mistake, because Rudy's now side by side with him in towards turn 13. And now TF and PSR get going on lap 2 out of 25. Sav now holds on to 3rd. Rudy there in 4th. Absolutely shot now as Sav there in 3rd, trying to hold back Talent Factory. This is tactical early from the outside.
Oh my goodness me! Levi gets into a collision with Max in that collision there, and Max is going to be relegated down to 7th place as Kazizel gets back in front, and now he continues battling with Levi, who's now got front wing damage on the left-hand side. That's going to allow Kazizel potentially some inroads here for Team Shazoo. Levi will try and defend this, but Max, who may now have got damage underneath the car, oh, it's getting into collision! Oh, it's awful! It's absolutely awful in all of that collision that was happening with Levi, and then he gets on there, gets a tag slapper off of the curb, and it's damage all around. The safety car is out, no surprise, straight away, but oh my goodness me, there is going to be contacts and there's going to be conversations about what has happened there, because to me, Levi got on the curb, got into a collision, tags then the Shazoo driver of Kazizel. Kazizel gets away with it only just by staying in 8th, but after all of that, it's now completely turned everything on its head.
Absolute drama here in Legacy Division. Kazizel was the innocent party and all that. Chris has just picked up a 5-second penalty into the pit lane. But look at how many drivers have got damage. Sav and Skyler have got damage as well. PSR, both of their drivers have got damage. I'm seeing if Skyler has got front wing damage here. He has. Skyler has got front wing damage as well. Good for Max. Max has already been released, actually. He's now ahead of Skyler. This takes more twists and turns as a twisty and turny thing. My word, I don't know what is happening here so far. I don't know what on earth is going on in Saudi Arabia. It's Yossi out on top. It's Bluey in 2nd. It's Rudy there in 3rd. Kazizel also picked up damage, by the way, and all of that. I had a feeling he picked up right side end plate damage. That was confirmed. He had right side end plate damage as a result of Levi hitting him off towards the wall. Max there getting caught in with that absolute chaos. And they were all caught up as a result of Sav getting damage and holding everyone up.
So after all of that scenario that's happened, let's review what's happened. So in that battle, Levi accidentally, perfectly legitimately, goes into the back of Max. Max ends up losing control ever so slightly, but Levi is able to progress on. He has major front wing damage on the left-hand side. He ends up getting going off of the circuit and ends up expiring the track limits by quite a long way, going around the left-hander. He then rejoins the circuit, but because the curb is risen at that particular corner, you end up in a position where the car will just immediately snap on you. He snaps, crashes into Kazizel, and it's an awful collision involving a bucket load of drivers, which as it stands, the only driver in that battle for the title that's going to be scoring points is going to be Rudy, and it will not be enough to take the victory out of PSR's hands at the moment. PSR in 12th and 17th, and that's all because Max was involved in that collision as well. Remember, as a result of colliding with Levi at the beginning of that entire facade. What an absolute show of individuality, shall we say, as I've tried to keep cool in that scenario. It is not the cleanest bit of racing I've seen, but it's definitely mixed it up. Juventus Racing leading from the front from Outplayed Racing as more drivers are now pitting. Kazizel, Max is now in the pits from Chris, who also pits as well, to complete now a Juventus Racing sandwich.
And actually, this is pretty good because Chris has gone for a set of mediums, actually, no, he's into the pit lane. Wonder if he's going to go set of hards and follow with Kazizel and indeed with him. Is he stuck in the pit lane? Oh, he had a 5-second penalty. That's why. 5-second penalty. He's on a fresh set of mediums coming out of the pit lane. They'll be very, very hard to get the end of the race from here. Kazizel and Max have been smart. They've gone to the whole compound of tyres. If there's another safety car, they're completely back in play, potentially. Yossi though out on top, Louis there in 2nd, Rudy there in 3rd. Jack saying in the chat what happened to Ogween. Unfortunately, Ogween was the innocent party and all that. He got caught up in that instant. Max, I think, got hit into the wall by Levi and by Kazizel on rejoining. Then Ogween was right behind that, got caught up because they're so close together. There's literally zero reaction time. Ogween got caught up in that, and unfortunately was the one in the wall out of the race, and that is why we've got that safety car. And people in the chat want a red flag. I totally agree with you. I think if that was F1 23 in 3 weeks' time, that would have been a red flag, and we would have been sitting here chatting about something else.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to completely concur with you on that one, and just keeping an eye out in the chat as well. Luke, actually, in the chat, moderator and the Lord and Saviour of WOR at the moment, saying, Sav, Defo broke early because of the damage, which meant Levi had no chance to react. But Levi was also exacerbated by the fact that there was major front wing damage on his car as well. So whatever the case may be, Levi was absolutely done for. He went into the off of the track, and then people are arguing the question, well, to be fair, as the safety car is coming at the end of this lap, he did rejoin rather quickly. And to be fair, when you're going around that corner where the curb is raised as you come onto the circuit, it's no surprise that he ended up spinning out as a result of that one. Either way, I'm sure the stewards have got plenty to review at the end of that one. God bless their souls. The Aussie is now leading the way, though. Of course, he's going to be getting all of those drivers, getting the tyres nice and warm ahead here in the Juventus Racing Sandwich. Of course, Chris at the back of that queue. As it stands then, the PSR still taking the championship, but only by a small margin of 7 points as it stands then, as Jose is just coming across into that final turn 27. He hasn't caught anyone napping, though, because Outplayed Racing very keen to gets a bit of a tank slapper. Actually, here's how Louis might be in a prime position here to put some early pressure on Yossi as we go green again here in Jeddah, and now immediately out the blocks here. People still weaving on the circuit to try and get some heat into these tyres going into turn 1. People taking it very gingerly.
Oh, Zolz's going around the outside of Simba Rocks, though. Beautiful move around the outside of turn number 1. And do you know what? M-Race is going to follow through on Simba Rocks as well. Through the left-hander of turn number 1 and 2. Can't get the job done. And now Levi in that fresh set of soft compound tyres. He's now the one in play. He will be the fastest man out on track. Yossi, absolutely great start, even though he was a bit hair-raising coming out of turn 27. Leads the way from Louis in second. Rudy Levinson, M-Race, and nearly loses control of the car. Through the left-hander of turn number 9 now. And just about keeps control of the car. Levi still on the back of Simbarox is going to try and look for the dive bomb in towards turn 13. Very late on the brakes down the inside line. Simbarox shouldn't really fight this, and he doesn't. Levi through and he's into 10.
Now here's a question here. What are the drivers going to do around them with PSR in 13th and 14th? Are they going to race them? Are they going to let them go? At the moment, M Racer is very keen to just keep an eye out on SLR in front, and if Sav does get alongside, I'm sure he won't challenge him too hard. Either way, they're going now into the next set of corners. Yossi leading the way at the front, by the way, and already nearly pulling a second on Louis. Is absolutely flying out there. He loves this circuit. Does Juventus Racing Yossi. In fact, he loves this game cycle. It's been absolutely fascinating to watch here. As a mistake from M Racer, getting up on that curve, beaching it ever so slightly, is going to leave him under some pressure here already from PSR Sav, who might end up getting a double overtake here because it looks like Simba Rocks is not going to be putting any pressure at all. He is defending, though, from them Racer, who goes around the outside of turn 27. The move is looking like he's going to be done and dusted as well. What a move from the Mercedes to get that one done, and now up to P11. Sav, though, still not able to make any progress. He stays in 13th.
He does indeed, and Levi's down the inside line as Zozo very easily indeed down the inside, gets the job done. He's through and he's into 8th position as well. But Sav is caught in a bit of a backwash here. M-Racer and Simbarox are 11th and 12th. Doing a good job. They are fighting for track position, however. There's no increment for them to get out the way. Nothing says in the rules that they've got to get out the way just because of the slow car out on track. Sav is in trouble here. Skyler's riding behind this as well, and Sav looks toward the inside line at turn number 9 through the right-hander. Chris is right on the back of Skyler. Bit of a slight tap there from Sav. He's going to have to try and force the move on Simbarox. Whether he likes it or not, he'll have to do it to the inside line, and in the end, absolutely coasts to the inside line, gets the job done. Bit of a lag spike there, but Sav is through and he's into 12th, and now puts Simbarox right in the way of his teammate.
Yossi was out of DRS. He's now back in it with Louis, on Yossi in this particular circumstance, in the unfortunate circumstance for Yossi. Makes a mistake in the third sector as Chris has gone for a spin, and that is a complete front wing change now needed for Juventus Racing, and the safety car is out again for the second time in this race. Debris all over the circuit now that all of the drivers will slow down, and I'm sure Chris will hold his hands up to everyone and say, sorry about that, lads.
Yeah, that's just a mistake by himself. Got too trigger happy coming out of turn 17. Very easy to do. Happens to the best of us. Happens to the worst of us as well at times. Chris, just a mistake by himself. No contact at all. Skyler and Simbarox are still having their own private battle, by the way, to try and see who's ahead in terms of the pit stop. Skyler wanted to be ahead. I think the game has actually given it to Simbarox, even though he was behind. Very, very weird one. There is a pit stop, though, and that is Levi. Not surprised. Ultra set of soft compounded tyres. will be going, I would assume, for a set of mediums, and then Jam is into the pit lane as well. And Jam there, maybe to try and pick up a bit of cream as well. He's there in 16th, and he is now into the pit lane, probably for a set of medium compound ties, and indeed he is. A Zach there in the chat saying, JR Civil War in the party right now. I wouldn't like to be there right now, to be honest, but they shouldn't be having Civil War. Yossi's out on top, comfortably ahead of Louis Valentin, comfortably ahead of Rudy. If there's anyone to look at, I think, potentially next year for F1 Esports Challenges, this man here in first.
Yeah, he's flying at the moment, isn't he? By the way, just that comment from Zach saying JR Civil War in the party right now, I completely disagree, because actually Yossi made a mistake just before the safety car came out and invited the DRS zone back to Louis, which would have completely changed the complexion of the race. So this safety car means we're now going to be without DRS for another 2 laps, which is going to give Yossi a third opportunity to get in front of Louis by over a second. He's done it once. He nearly did it a second time but made a mistake. So there's every opportunity for him to do it the third time and potentially take the race victory here for Juventus Racing in that close battle with NRX for 6th place, by the way. Furious in 7th place as it stands, and of course Levi Pitting now down in 15th place. Potentially, though, he's got a few penalties lingering over his head. First one for qualifying, potentially the second one for that first awful crash in the second sector. But it's lap 7 of 25, would you believe? We do have at least another 3 quarters of this race to go, but it's been absolutely mind-blowing how many things have been happening in this race so far.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. And Francesco Largo there in the chat is also saying, Yossi punching air right now. I wonder if he's got like a plastic face potentially in front of him that he could potentially punch. Maybe Chris's face at this stage. Not saying I'm going to institute a bit of violence here on the WOR live stream, but Yossi there is not happy. Let's just put it that way. He is not happy. His teammate has brought the safety car in. Oh, I thought it was going to be Louis Valentin into the pit lane there. Tried to juke the rest of the field. I mean, tried on the back of Rudy as well. Ryan right on the back of the Mercedes, but nobody, I believe, is in, apart from Levi, who was actually back in the pit lane, probably to go for the third time, because I said he was on a set of mediums. He's not. He's on a set of hards. I'm assuming now he's going to go for a fresh set of medium compound tyre, and that will mean he can go to the end of the race. And I am right this time. He's on a fresh set of mediums.
So yeah, he's obviously just making sure that the full coverage of the rule of selecting 2 dry compounds throughout this race is now met. He's done exactly that by going on to a set of hard tyres, then going back onto the medium, so he can now go to the end of this race theoretically. The question is, will the mediums go the distance? I expect that the hard tyres, being as fresh as they are, let's be honest, we've not done much racing on them now, could actually go for a hard soft strategy, as we've seen from other people. I think LCR Leopard is the first person that comes to my mind, actually, in another racing event, actually at this circuit, though, managing to get the the hard to soft strategy to work an absolute treat for him, and that didn't need a safety car. So it is absolutely possible, especially now we've had a couple of safety cars. Hard to soft could be an option here. Lap 8 of 25 in this race. Then we are just a little bit under a third of this race to go. The driver's now just heading around the circuit for what is going to be potentially the last time behind the safety car. We expect the safety car surely should be in at the end of this lap, as he's now just heading around into that first sector, and keeping it nice and tidy actually is going to be Yossi. It's going to be a pretty important set of events now for Yossi, because he's going to want to try his hardest to lead the way from the front, and it's going to be a critical race start here, heading now down towards turn 27. It's going to be about that restart. He didn't manage to get the jump on Louis on that first occasion. The question is, he's going to be able to do it again, do it for the first time rather in this particular occasion here, as he does look like he's trying to get those tyres nice and warm. Safety car now in the pit lane, so he can go whenever he wants, and he does go, and then weaves it once again, so it does look like he's leaving it very late, but he tries to go once again to try and get those tyres nice and warm. Goes for the later exit, big tank slapper as he tries to go here, but I'm honest with you, again, it's a poor start from Yossi. These safety car restarts could be doing some improvement as he now comes across the line, and we go green again here in Jeddah, and now going into turn 1. Louis is going to have the advantage going into the corner, but earlier braking from Louis on this occasion, looking like he's not particularly comfortable himself going into corners, whilst Yossi, on the other hand, not comfortable coming out of them. Heading around then into the next set of corners, and Mine in 4th place, by the way. Good start from him, going up 7 positions, avoiding all of the incidents around him, and now taking some good points potentially here for VSR. Outplayed Racing's Ryan in 5th place, as we've got JTO40 in 6th from Furious in 7th, Zorzo in 8th from M-Racer in 9th, and Sav in 10th place. Now with it looks like Simbarox 1 and Scythe getting into a little bit of a scrap there for 11th place. Now up into 11th here as M-Racer gets overtaken finally by Sav, he will be saying, and now up into 9th place. And a couple of points falling in the form of PSR at the moment is not going to make any difference at all. They will still take the championship as it stands. Going into the next couple of corners then for Sav, he'll be looking to try and keep within close proximity of all of the drivers in front of him who have all massively gained from that awful incident that happened earlier on in that event. Furious then, in the other hand, by the way, still trying to battle hard with JTO 40 for 6th place as it stands, and of course trying to take some good points on the final race of Team Valor after Ogween got into that awful crash on lap number 3.
Yeah, definitely. So apologies, by the way, if anybody heard me leave the Discord. Yeah, my laptop decided to overheat, which is not the best angle because we've got battles going on further down the field at this stage. Yossi, Louis, Rudy, top 3. Irene there in 4th, Ryan there in 5th. Everyone there calming down. Skyler was in a bit of trouble there as Levi's now going to go for the move action. Simbarox in towards turn number 1. Should be very easy indeed for the NRX man. Simbarox will try and fight this, I think. But in the end, the NRX man is through. He's into 13th position, so nicely done. And in the end, Yossi out on top, Louis Valentine 2nd, Rudy there in 3rd. Hopefully everything is fine now, and hopefully nothing will die on me again.
How is Levi still in this race, by the way? He had the awful incident in qualifying. He's had the awful crash that's happened here, and then he's had to pit about 3 times already. So Levi's still out on the circuit. Now, to be honest with you, after all the incidents that have happened, which have all been relatively heavy, he's still here in this race as well. So, and managing to race as well, by the looks of things, because he's now coming here for an attack against Kazizo. And that is, I'm sorry, a bit opportunistic from Levi. And now he spins out as a result, and that is a maker of his own situation there, as he now relegates himself all the way down to the back.
Yeah, that's such a shame. I mean, we were literally just singing his praises there, and he goes for a gap. Basically, that's always going to be cut up by Jam. He had the speed. Don't get me wrong. He's just picking up a 3-second penalty, and maybe that is going to be his penalty that he's given at the end of the race as well. So that is not great from Levi's perspective. Could have just waited, maybe gone for a move. In the end, not quite close enough. Here's Rudy, by the way, on the back of Louis Valentine. Getting a little bit tactical up front. Rudy's right on the back of Louis Valentine into the left-hander turn 27. Doesn't get the job done. However, Sav has made up another position on the back of Furious. So he's through. He's into 7th. Furious will not be happy with that one. Let's put it that way. Simbarox as well has been overtaken by Max further down the field. And here comes M-Racer on the back of Zozo as well in towards turn number 1. And also potentially a change for the race lead. Louis on the back of Yossi doesn't go for the move. And M-Racer tries to go down the inside of Furious and Zozo. Levi into the quick lane. Maybe speeding might be the end of his night, and it is indeed as M-Racer is through. Surely on Zozo and towards turn number 4. He is. He's through and he's into 9th.
Yeah, I mean, I called it one lap ago, didn't I, about Levi? How is he still in this race? And there it is. It is just not in that mindset. The mindset is not there for Levi, and he is now out of this race, and that will be his world season over and done with. M-Racer in 9th place then from Furious, who is still trying to battle here with JTO 40, but Sav is really making some serious inroads at the moment. Scythe, on the other hand, not making as many inroads as Sav is at the moment. I think this is to be expected. Sav has been blisteringly quick in the race. Scythe now up to 10th. As it stands, but Max down in 13th is not helping Talent Factory's case at all, as Simbarox 1 gets overtaken by JR's Chris going into that particular set of corners. While this is all happening, by the way, Yossi's already now begun his push. He's actually on this 3rd attempt not been able to get out of the DRS territory of Louis and Rudy, but as it stands, Yossi has been able at least to actually pull a bit of a gap that might be not too much of an issue going into turn 27. Here we come then. Louis not using overtake on this occasion, so getting closer and closer because he's actually trying to defend from a move from Talent Factory's Rudy, who makes a move down the inside on turn 27. They will remain side by side, but Rudy will have the opportunity to take quite a significant downdraft here and a bit of a toe from Yossi, and Yossi's going to defend the outside line as he's maybe not looking behind to see Rudy is putting some pressure on, but what a defense from Louis to hold on to P2, and what I think is definitely the ideal scenario for Yossi. He'd rather be battling with Louis for P1, not Rudy. Let's be candid.
Put it that way, that's probably one of the best pieces of defensive driving I think I've seen on this game. Absolutely brilliant from Louis Valentine. Doesn't want to quit. Rudy didn't want to quit in that battle as well. 2 guys at their absolute breaths in terms of their racing. Fantastic to watch. I'm very happy that happened. And Louis Valentine's still in 2nd as a result. Rudy there in 3rd. And I'll tell you what, as I say, one of the best pieces of driving I think I've seen all game cycle. I really hope we see these two going forward on F1 23. I'm very excited. If they battle like that, I'm very excited.
Well, whatever happens in F1 23, I'm hoping I'm going to continue on the crossplay platform because some of these PlayStation drivers have been absolutely crispy in all of the racing that they have been doing. It has been absolutely fantastic to watch, to say the least. While this is all happening, by the way, those two PlayStation drivers battling out, there is an Xbox driver knocking on their door, actually. Amine for VSR have been absolutely... I mean, I've always liked watching Amine. He's been a really good driver. While this is all happening, by the way, Sav is just overtaking Ryan for fifth inside. There as Rudy has made a critical mistake going down that inside line so late. How they didn't collide through there. And that was a really forced situation there for Rudy. And I'm wondering here if Talent Factory have said, get your skates on because we need to get this win and try and maximise our opportunity to take victory here tonight.
Yeah, definitely so. That was forceful from Rudy. Absolute late lunge on the brakes on Louis Valentin. In the end, he broke too late. He went into the side of Louis Valentin. Luckily, didn't put him out in towards the wall because there would have been damage, I think, on the OP man's car. Just about got away with that one. But Rudy having to go for broke, having to go for much position. He had to make that move because look at Sav. He's running back of Amin for fourth position. And he's going to get the move maybe in towards turn 13. He's going to absolutely breeze on past Amin in toward the left hand of turn 13. Easy as you like from the PSR man. A little bit of lag in between. Maybe a little bit of desync potentially between them. But Sav is doing his into fourth. He doesn't have to worry about that. Amin there in fifth. Ryan there in sixth. Yossi, Rudy, Louis, the top three. PS 1, 2, 3 at this stage. I don't think it'll last that long. Yeah,
because Sav is flying at the moment now. He's obviously only 2 positions down on his original start position of second place. Of course, the person in front of him, of course, was Yossi, and he still remains in the lead of this race, by the way, while Rudy is really trying to make some quick inroads. You can see that overtake available on the bottom of his wheel screen at the moment is looking pretty minuscule, actually, so his defensive driving is going to become a significant issue if he keeps using it too much here, but he won't go for the dive as he did on Louis. And by the way, while this all happened, I think Louis was caught napping here because he is not comfortable out there on circuit at the moment as he actually now comes into the pit lane, and I'm wondering if this is potentially an early pit stop onto a set of medium tyres as M Racer goes fastest of anyone so far on the Xbox platform for VSR. Louis, though, coming in to get off of the hard tyres. There will be no change on the front wing, so this is a purely tactical stop here.
Yep, this is undercut. This is the undercut strategy at this stage. Louis Valentin into the pit lane. Set a medium compound tyres are very good around here in the final 12 laps of this race. Would not be surprised if Louis actually comes out on top, but look at the way he actually took that pit lane entry, the pit lane exit, in fact, from Louis' perspective, completely went over the white line on the exit. I certainly watched that from my perspective. I'm not sure if OP or if any other team saw that. If they did, and they watch it back on the stream, there might be a steerage report coming that way if the pit entries and exits are getting covered within the change. Joseph doing a bit of quick maths as well. 389 points for PSR. Talent Factory on 367. Have a feeling that might be slightly out of date because of the pit stop of Louis Valentin that has just happened there as well. But Cider now trying to solve his way through the field. There is a potential as well, which we haven't talked about yet. Potential that PSR could actually get to the end of the race on those tyres if they're so careful with the tyres. It's very unlikely, but they put themselves in a good position regardless.
It would be a valiant effort, to be fair, because obviously they've had to try and make their way up the standings, so they've got to try and race other people whilst also looking after their tyres, and that makes me wonder, is that the reason why Scyther's not putting as much pressure on the drivers in front versus Sav, as we've got people in. Yossi has now come in. Sav sets the fastest lap of this race. He knows people are pitting, so he's now begun his push on these medium tyres. They're 12 laps old. Of course, remember, 3 of those laps behind the safety car, so realistically 9 lap old tyres, 10 laps to the end, 19 laps. It's going to be a push. They will be quite worn, but they will go to the end. The question is will people be able to catch up? Because Zizzle goes fastest of anyone so far, though. 1 minute 30.3, but he's outside of the top 10, so Sav will still score that fastest lap point, being in the top 10, which of course may be critical going into the final race and having a look at who's going to be champion. As it stands, though, firmly in PSR's hands.
Yeah, firmly in PSR's hands. What is firmly as well in Yossi's hands is he got ahead of Louis Valentin coming out of the pit lane. In the end, the undercut not as powerful as what I thought, certainly, around here. But Louis has got the warmer tyres. He's got limited ERS to try and use, 11% of ERS. Yossi, on the other hand, 91% to defend off Louis Valentin and behind. He has controlled this race absolutely perfectly so far. I would not be surprised if he's on the podium. If he is, he absolutely deserves it because he's been brilliant all race. Rudy and Sav, though, are going to be the next, I think, to come into the pit lane. At this moment in time, the gap between Max and Yossi, as it stands, which I can tell you, is... Give me a second, I'm having to do quick maths on the spot. Around about 13 seconds is the gap between Max and Yossi. Have a feeling, though, Rudy and Sav are into the pit lane. They are indeed. Rudy is in. Sav actually stays out. So Sav stays out, and Skyver's the one putting into PSR.
So there we are then. So maybe the two stop is on the cards here for PSR. Scyther is in with Sav staying out. Despite the fact that Sav arguably probably not using, he's used more tyre than perhaps maybe his teammate Scyther. Nonetheless, Scyther's coming in, fresh set of medium tyres waiting for him. Yossi is trying to defend here from a battle against Louis. Of course, remember, Louis is still battling hard here. So there's a collision! And that's a collision happening between Yossi and Louis just batters into the back of Louis and of Yossi, and all of that effort from Yossi is now going to come to a complete waste, and Outplayed Racing are going to have certainly a student inquiry against him on that one, because he was just trying to get around the corner, was Yossi, but into the back goes Louis, and Louis now up to 7th, Yossi down to 12th.
I'm absolutely flummoxed as to what's happened. I'm not sure if there was desync. I'm not sure if there was any... Yossi, by the way, is down the inside of Amin and towards 13, so he is literally... So, I'm just going to say it, peed off right now. Yeah. He's there in 11th ahead of Amin. And now he is having to channel that into his racing. Channel it to the greater good. Because if he is fired up, I am fired up in the commentary box. And he's absolutely charging. Look at this. Compared to Ryan, he's so much quicker than him. And now he's back within this DRS train. I tell you what, if he's back on the podium after this, he needs driver of the day. He's doing an absolute phenomenal job.
Oh, what a corner, actually. He's going to have a good run here, coming up here, and he's going to put Outplayed Racing Ryan. Of course, this is the teammate of the driver that took him out earlier. Sav coming into the pit lane here. Could be a double overtake as well, because the court driver in front, Kazizel, is struggling with his electrical energy. Going into 27. He gets one move done. He's looking for the second one, but he's not going to get it on this occasion, but he might get it done before going into turn 1. That is the lack of electrical energy in that Renault power unit in the back of that Alpine. He's now already up to 9th, and he's looking to try and already put pressure. Oh, here comes on Rudy, who goes for the dive bomb going into the corner, but he's not going to get the jump on Sav. He stays in the second prospective position. Well, this is all happening. Yossi's gone for a spin, and now he's all the way at the back.
Oh my word, absolute chopping and changing here in Legacy Division. I've never seen a race like it all season. Sav and Rudy are battling out in front. Not sure what happened to Yossi. I wasn't on board with him, but I have a feeling he's got caught in the inside curve out of turn number 2, which is why he's gone for the spin. Unfortunate for Yossi. If not, it's contact. He is going to be so fuming right now. He needs to channel that. He was working so hard to get back into contention. He didn't deserve that whatsoever. Juventus Racing should still be proud, I think, of his performance in this race. Ideally, he needs a safety car to kind of save him, but that's not going to do him the greater good at this stage. But Rudy and Sav, net lead of the race at this stage. Oh my word, I don't know what's going to happen in these final 8-9 laps.
Keep an eye on who's in first, by the way. Now he's using all of his overtakes. I'm wondering if he is going to be pitting at the end of this lap, but he could consider potentially going to the end here as Kazizel and Amine getting into a battle, going 3 wide around those set of corners, and Scyther getting into the mix as well. This is critical. Scyther really could do and not get any kind of collisions here, as he then hugs in and he's boxed in by drivers around, but he's going to go for the dive down the inside anyway, and he's going to get to a collision very well held from down the outside from Kazizel, as Scyther stays in 11th place. And while this is all happening, he's getting the toe and he's going to get the rush here down the inside line. He gets 1 done, he's going to get 2 done as he goes now up into 9th place. Does the PSR driver, here comes Furious as he gets into a collision, but then ghosting immediately comes into play here. The game is not happy with that kind of racecraft apparently, as now Amine is ghosted and continue races, and there's complete desync as he gets into a collision though with Zorzo. It is a complete desync in that scenario, and that spins him now all the way down to 16th. While this is all happening, by the way, Max is staying out. He's got no ERS left. He's pushing so hard, and I have a feeling he's going to try and take these hard tyres all the way to the end. Remember, he pitted on lap 1 after that collision effort. If my math works out right, he's not on the same set of tyres that he started on, or at least he's pitted at 1 point, surely.
Yeah, he put it actually on lap 2, I believe, so he's actually made a pit stop out on track. And I think this is going to work, because in all of that chaos, Rudy got past on Sav, which we absolutely missed. Rudy got past on Sav. Max has actually made 2 stops out on track. as opposed to 1. He can get those sort of hard compounded tyres to the end. If there's anybody that can do it, it's him. The PSGL F1 champion, of course, and Max. But Chris there and Jam having to come in the pit lane, I'll be very surprised to say if Max does get to the end on those tyres. But if he doesn't, this is going to be the ultimate team tactic, I think, from Talon Factory's perspective, because Sav is in behind. Scarlet's 3 positions down behind the OP boys. This race has gone absolutely cataclysmically wrong in terms of desync. I will apologise in advance because I'm the lobby host to take on Scarlet to the inside line at turn number 1 on the back of Ryan. Sets the fastest lap and goes to the inside line. Beautiful move by Scarlet. Gets the job done on the brakes into turn number 1, and he's through. And also, I think JT is fighting with Kazizzle further down the field. That move not being pulled off.
If my maths works out right, James, now, because of that fastest lap from Scyther and that overtaken outplayed Racing's Ryan, PSR will still take the championship by 1 singular point, I think is the points as a tally as it currently stands at the moment. There is still plenty of racing to go here that could decipher this, but as it stands at the moment, Sav is battling with, guess who? TF Rudy, who is now getting stuck behind a driver who's still yet to make a pit stop, by the way. This is SLR, who are currently in 3rd and 4th respectively. We didn't talk about them really, but SLR Jam can go to the end of this race. Simba Rock's 1 corner, he has to pit and he's made a mistake there, so surely Rudy's going to get this move done. And as that now overtake has happened, I believe now Talent Factory have got the championship by 1 singular point, but Sav is now going to make that one an opportunity for PSR Sav to now take the championship right back out of Talent Factory's hands once again. This is monumental racing happening for this title, and everybody is fighting so hard for it. Outplayed Racing trying to get past Simba Rocks 1, by the way, gets the move done. Scyther also wants to get this move done as soon as he possibly can, but he's not going to rush too hard because he knows every point is going to count, and 1 spin out could see Scyther potentially dock all those points, those 4 points he's getting at the moment. So important, as he's now going to improve himself up to 6. Really good stuff here.
Yeah, brilliant. And Sav's gone for the move on Rudy in towards turn number 1. He's back past him. This is chopping and changing, like a choppy and changing thing. Luke Humphries' comment is completely now out of sync compared to what we're seeing out on track. It's just the common nature of this track. Max leads the way. Chris there in 2nd, Jam there in 3rd. The gap between Max and Sav, by the way, is currently 10.6 seconds. That's enough for him to lose time and get potentially the win of the race. Chris is yet to pit in. Jam's already put in as well. He's going to be holding up PSR and Rudy. So SLR potentially could have something to say in terms of a championship fight in this as well, because Sav and Rudy are in behind. Max is ahead. At the minute, Talent Factory are pulling off potentially what they need. An absolute miracle out on track. Yossi, by the way, had a collision with JT, which we completely missed. Yossi and JT had a collision, I think, out of turn number 4, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why they're further down the field. And that is unfortunate for them. Chazoo have not been great as well with Zorzo and Kazizzle. But in the end, lap 21 out of 25. 5 laps to go after this one. Max leads, Chris in 2nd, Jam in 3rd. But the gap between Max and Sav is coming down, and it's coming down fast.
Yeah, here comes the overtake then from Sav, as Jam may want to defend this one, to be fair. He wants to get SLR their 2nd podium of the season, but he elects in the end not to put too much pressure on that one here, and actually he's going to give Rudy a little bit of an opportunity to get the traction out, and they will do so. DRS now open for Rudy in that battle to try and continue on. Sav gets the fastest lap of this race, but Rudy getting closer, heading into turn 1 as it stands. My maths is trying to work this out whilst I'm speaking. As it stands, though, it will be 22 points heading in the way of PSR, and it will be 25 plus the 12, that's 37, so PSR will still lead the championship as it stands at the moment, but anything could happen with how close it is out there on circuit at the moment. One mistake from Scyther, or one mistake from Rudy, or one mistake from Max, so that after all of this could end up completely steering it out of hands. As it stands at the moment, though, Juventus Racing are happy with Chris getting 2nd place, and they will be probably not going to be defending too hard against Sav, but Max will be defending to the ends of the earth for this race victory tonight, after what has been such a tumultuous time for Max as well, to take the race victory tonight and give TF the maximum possibility of taking this championship is absolutely what he needed.
Yeah, I have it in my mind about 5 points, I think, in terms of the swing at this stage in favour of PSR. So PSR, I think, are leading maybe 5 points over Talent Factory as it stands. I'm having to do maths at this stage as well. Maths is not my strong point, so we are having to try and work as well as one and in unison at this stage. Everything is now beginning to build very nicely indeed, and Rudy was looking to try and be forced into the move there by Sav just ahead. 4.5 seconds the gap, but Max is still ahead. by 8 seconds, pretty much over Sav. The gap is coming down quick enough, but here comes Rudy to go for the move on Sav, and now this swings potentially in Talon Factory's favour as Rudy goes to the inside line of turn number 1, easy as you like, and he's through, and he's into P3. And I think now, with Rudy ahead, this is going to bring Skyler into play, certainly, but this is also going to bring Max on for the race win.
My maths works out as follows: the gap will be the gap points tally will be 19 in the favour of Talent Factory, which means PSR will win the championship by just 3 points as it stands at the moment. So Sav doesn't need to actually get this podium here, but Scyther could really do with overtaking Outplayed Racing's Louis if he can help it to really solidify the championship. A 4th and a 5th is more than enough for PSR, and that a singular point as well that Scyther has got for fastest lap is also very, very critical in this one as well. Max needs to stay in the lead of this race in order to take victory, in order to maximise the possibility here. Amine gets the fastest lap of this race, but he's outside of the top 10, so that point will still apply to Scyther at the moment, who set the fastest lap of those in the top 10. So as it stands at the moment, 4.5 will and 4.6 is enough for PSR at the moment, but Outplayed Racing will be very happy to get in there and start taking points out here, especially with M-Racer also looking to try and get some points here for VSR, because of course Amine is all the way down in 16th at the moment, and we've got 2 laps to go. Outplayed Racing could completely steer the championship here.
They could indeed. Sav on the back of Rudy trying to hunt him down and towards turn 1. It's not doing good enough though at this stage. I'm looking at Max's tyres as well. Max's tyres potentially going to go off the cliff before the end of the race as M-Racer dives to the inside.
Oh my goodness me!
And Ryan gets caught on the inside curve.
Oh, Talent! Oh no, Rudy's gone for a spin! Rudy has also gone for a spin at turn 1 as well, and that has now completely blown everything on all the maths out of the window. No one knows what's happening. But now Rudy is all the way down as far as P10 with only that singular point, and it looks like these medium tyres are now starting to fall off a little bit because people are now beginning to struggle. Sav is in 8th, Cypher is in 4th. We've got a spinner at the back as well as in relation to the collision that happened with Louis colliding in there a little bit earlier on as well. So now that's going to mix things up. JTO 40 with a 3-second time penalty. Maths is working out in my head at the moment. PSR will be getting 12 plus the 4 points as well for 8th plus the 1 point. That totals 17. Talent Factory are getting the 25 and only the 1 point for 26. As PSR certainly going to be getting the title here as it stands at the moment. But there we go. Rudy now far down as 10th. That may just have sealed the deal for PSR with 2 laps to go.
I don't... Evil Master saying, what on earth happened there in the chat? I don't even know. But what I do know is Sav got caught up in that as well. So I think one or two things has happened. Sav has gone for dive bomb, or Rudy's gone for dive bomb, and they've ended up colliding with each other towards turn 1. Here is Sav, by the way, up the inside line of Furious, and he's now getting an extra point over Furious at this stage as well. But he's going to try and fight. Oh, there's a bit of hand of rage there from the PSR man as he now comes down the straight towards turn 1. M-Racer and Ryan are having a fight. Skyler is now ahead of Louis in all of this as well, so he's into 3rd. Very easily done, in fact, in towards turn number 1. But Skyler there in 3rd is enough at this stage for PSR to be crowned Legacy Division champions, no matter what happens in behind.
Yeah, so while this is all happening, by the way, so yeah, we've just had confirmation. Jack in the chat saying, it looks to me as if Rudy and Sav have had contact. That is massively controversial if that's the case, because Sav has collided into the driver that could potentially have sent this entire championship on its head. And unfortunately, it looks very much like now that this championship might just be over, with Sav leading the way in 7th from Rudy now down in 10th, who is just trying to consolidate some points here. We'll get 9th off of Kazizel, but it certainly won't be enough, even with Max leading this race at the moment. 22 lap old hard tyres now, by the way, is flying out there and 5 seconds in front of Chris. Now Scyther up to 3rd place. He'll be hoping to continue on, try and get 2nd place and solidify this championship. Outplayed Racing are getting these big points here, but of course Louis get involved in that collision earlier on with M-Racer, and that race is still happening between 4th and 5th at the moment, with Ryan in 6th. Sav is wanting to get these moves done, and he's getting it done quickly. Here he comes then. DRS is open as Chris, and Chris has gone for a spin, and he's gone for a crash somehow on the straight, so now he is down to 7th and 8th place respectively. I wonder what's happened there. Well, Sav is going to go for around the outside, and he's going to puncture as then the JR driver, and it's a left rear puncture as he collided with the wall as the tyres gone pop. That means Max is going to be in severe trouble here on the final lap of this race. Sav is now getting himself promoted up to 5th place if he can help it. He's going to go for the dive going into 1, and he's going to have the advantage going into the corner, but the disadvantage going out, and Ryan gets a tank slapper, and he's now able to stay in 5th place. Now is Sav from NRX Furious up to 6th. And my maths works out PSR are absolutely taking this championship when this comes out of the line here. As it looks like Chris has got a massive... Max has also got a puncture as well. And that is game over for Talent Factory. They've tried their hardest to get to the end of this race, but now it is over and done with. He's going to have to hope Max can hold off here from Scyther, but no, it is done and dusted. Talent Factory have tried. They've done everything but the kitchen sink at this, but it is going to all fall out of order for the Ferrari, who goes for a spin, and that may just seal the deal for what has been a tumultuous and just is the epitome, isn't it, of this entire franchise and this entire race. It's been topsy-turvy and left and right and up and down for a lot of these teams who have been trying their hardest, and at one point Talent Factory were looking like they were going to be taking a pretty solid championship, but the last few rounds have fallen massively out of favour for that team, and in the end, coming out of turn 27, Scyther is going to be screaming down towards the checkered flag, and what is going to be a fantastic victory in the end for Paradox Sim Racing, champions of World Online Racing's Legacy Division, and that will be it, with a 4th place for Sav. And then in the end, Rudy will finish in 7th place. Max will have to consolidate 13th, maybe even 14th place, with him struggling, and he's in the wall with no front wing. He'll want to try and get to the end of this race at least, but what has turned out to be a tumultuous race in the end has fallen right in favour for Paradox Sim Racing, champions of Season 2 World.
And they absolutely deserve it. I mean, who would have thought Skyler would have won that race first and foremost? Absolutely unbelievable in terms of the drama, and in terms of the controversy as well, in terms of the D-Sync, in terms of everything that we had in that race. Punctures galore. Oh, my word. I need to lie down, I think, after that one. But congratulations to PSR. I couldn't think of a better team for it to go for. In the end, Talent Factory, they played an absolute blinder. In the end, Max's tyres just let go. If they held on another lap, it might have just been a little bit different. If that Rudy and Sav contact didn't happen, it would have been different. If Yossi didn't end up spinning further down the field as well and getting caught in 3-4 bits of contact, I think he possibly could have won this race as well. Topsy-turvy. Amin comes to the line as well. Doesn't bag the new fastest lap of the race either. But Scarlett takes the race win. We'll see who the draw of the day awarded by the in-game fans is, at least. And that is M-Racer. And do you know what? You got P2 on the final lap as well, overtaking Louis Valentin. Well-deserved.
Well, that is it, isn't it? We've now got a title winner. PSR have finally got their first title in World Online Racing's Legacy Division after missing out ever so slightly in that battle with some incredible drivers in the Fury Racing Association. In the end, it will be at the top step of the podium for the drivers that take the title, with that wreath really just showing and emphasising the performance of PSR, who at one point were looking like they were going to miss out again. They take the title here in World Online Racing's Legacy Division, and I'm sure they're going to be wanting to fight all over again to retain that title for Season 3 moving on into F1 23. But nonetheless, a great performance from them, and a great performance in the end as well from VSL, managing to get onto the podium after all of those punctures galore. It was a valiant effort from Max, to be fair, but I think that puncture on the final lap was just the very epitome of the performance, unfortunately, of him. Here are then the very provisional results of this race, but nonetheless, I think it's very much their done deal. PSR are champions of World Online Racing's Legacy Division Season 2 with a win from Scyther and a cracking 4th place from Sav after a tumultuous race indeed. Louis gets a podium in the end for Alpha Tauri and Outplayed Racing, but potential penalties are going to be falling in his way, with M-Racer solidifying 2nd place. Furious finishes in 5th from Ryan, from Rudy, from Kazizel, Zorzo and JTO 40 rounding out the top 10. SLR just miss out on the points in the end on their final race in this tournament, 11th and 12th respectively from Yossi. What a disappointing 13th place for him, from Max in 14th, Chris in 15th and Amine rounding out the finishing drivers. Levi and Ogween are the only DNFers of this race. I tell you what, James, we've had a absolutely fantastic season of racing, and in the end, it ended up going right to the wire, to the final race of the season. And in the end, we have a champion in PSR. Talent Factory looked like they were running riot at one point in this season. They've missed out.
They have missed out, and they were running riot at this stage as well. And the first thing that pops into my mind is PSR. I think they've only led 3 or 4 rounds this season. out of what a numerous race calendar, I think 14 round race calendar. They've only led 3 or 4 times in that championship fight. And in the end, you have to lead where it matters most, and you have to lead at the final round. And PSR had that advantage, that buffer over Talent Factory. Talent Factory tried everything, literally, in their playbook to try and somehow get PSR not to be in Saudi Arabia. Around a different track, it could have been different, but in the end, PSR are worthy champions, and certainly I look forward to seeing how they get on F1 23, which is only, 3 weeks away?
We're not too far away from the new game cycle, but we've now round off this game cycle with PSR getting the title, the only title that they couldn't get through the last game cycle. They've managed to get it this time around. Will they be able to defend it? We'll see in just a little bit of time before we get on with the next season of racing. From myself, from James, and from the rest of the team here in WOR Legacy, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in a very short while. Take care.